points brought up tonight, I thought that I would try to go through them because they also raised questions. And I know that we don't answer your questions during the course of the meeting, but I think sometimes we should, or we should at least get some of these things out. I want to start with thanking Mrs. Roman, the former mayor of Jersey City, for coming out. It's always good to remember the women and their roles that they played in the community, but also I think I knew Mrs. Roman most as the head of the Business Alliance, and I think all of us are very concerned that our children have jobs after they get out of the post-secondary arena. And I think I was very moved by what she was discussing, the pockets of excellence that we have in our school district, but that all our children should be treated with the same respect, and we have to get better at that job because obviously the test scores don't prove that we're succeeding in some of these areas. I think the second speaker was Tom Favia. I wanted to thank him for coming. I also wanted to note for our new board members, I think this is the first time I've seen Mr. Favia come this year, and he came last year this time, and usually when he comes it's a very serious issue, and I think the layoff of our teachers and the fact that even though we've made reassurances that we're not going to do it, I don't think that he would have been here with the union tonight if there wasn't doubt to that point, or the fact that the people, our teachers and our staffs, need reassurance from us that it's not going to happen. And I think that that's really behind why they came tonight, and I want to thank them for coming. Ron Greco brought up a point that it's interesting because the board members discuss these things, and it seems like the staffs at Lincoln and the schools are discussing it also. Mrs. Lester, our vice president, brought to our attention a few weeks ago that she received documents that were included in the Lincoln proposal, grant proposal, that indicated that she was a stakeholder and that she had signed things, which she said she hadn't done. She merely had signed attendance sheets. And I'm really shocked to find out that Mr. Greco has had the same experience where teachers are being also in documents going in for grant funding saying that they've been party to something that they haven't been part of. And I'd like an explanation of that from the superintendent and staff, not tonight, but at some point. I think that's an issue that was kind of put aside. At least I didn't see a resolution to it when Mrs. Lester brought it, and now I hear again that it's even wider than just Mrs. Lester's statement that she had made, which I didn't see any answer to. I felt sorry for you, Mr. President, tonight with the, there were no amended forms. We were talking about resolutions that people said were on the website. We've gone back and forth on this. Most of the time I have my computer here, and there have been times when the computer has stuff and we don't have it, or vice versa, when we have forms that are presented to us but they're not on the computer. So I hope that, I think that some of the confusion tonight was that we should have both. We're almost a $700 million corporation, and I sit on some other boards, and you get a full packet, and I think that's enough said. However, something else disturbed me at the beginning of the meeting. We gave out a number of awards to students that weren't here, and that usually doesn't happen unless it's a prom night, and maybe it was a prom night, but I was able to reach McNair staff, and they said that they were never informed of the awards that were being issued tonight. So I hope that something can be done so that these children do get their awards, and that the students know that we're very, very proud of them. If they want to come sit later in the term and get their stuff. But I think we were honoring students that worked very hard from all the high schools. I just found it odd that none of them were here, unless somebody can tell me there was a prom. But again, McNair wasn't aware of it, and I didn't have any way of reaching the other schools tonight. Let me see, where are we up to? Oh, Mr. O'Reilly discussed his support for the teachers. And we talked about that the teachers were getting separation letters. I think we discussed this at personnel last night and said that we were very concerned that we minimize the impact on the teachers and get those updates as to who we will not lay off, hopefully no one, get it done as soon as possible so that people don't have to worry. We're talking about people's lives, and I really have a problem with how this group of layoffs is being handled. Mrs. Sims isn't here anymore. I just wanted to tell her that she was discussing the new board members. I guess I fall into that category only because I was just really newly elected. I just wanted to comment that Steve Fulop was 19 years old when I came on this board, and I'm sure he had no interest in me at that time. So that's for that. Contract issues. Something came up that I've been curious about. Again, maybe Dr. Ebbs can get me an answer on this. I've heard that contracts were issued to staff and then rescinded. I don't know if that's true, but I don't even know how that can happen, that once a contract is signed by, an employment contract is signed, I don't know how it can be pulled back, and I'd like some information on what that process is. After a staff member is offered a contract and then signed, can it actually be rescinded during the school year? I wanted to comment to the special ed parent. Dr. Ebbs is very kind. We all know that he goes out of his way to help people. But our intent is that, and we have members of the special ed staff here, our intent is that you don't have to call Dr. Ebbs, that the system should work at the staff level and in the schools, because we know that if you bring something to Dr. Ebbs' attention about a child, he will always handle it. And I thank him for that. But I am very, very concerned that last year, this board sat here at this board meeting in May, and we eliminated the entire LSW program. We eliminated the entire transition specialist program. This year, we eliminated basically the reading recovery people and the reading raise programs. It's short-sighted to believe that we can still keep saying that we're going to lay off special ed teachers, 88 last year, 34 this year. For 10 years, this district has moved forward on special ed because we adopted an inclusive model. That inclusive model said that instead of putting the kids in the self-contained classrooms and instead of sending them out of district, we would bring them back with supports. And those supports are the very people and programs that we are systematically eliminating last year, this year. Now, I'm lucky that I don't have a child in the school system in special ed anymore, but I'm here to support the special ed programs. And you are not going to see the results of the failure that we are perpetuating on the special ed program by removing the inclusive program for years to come. And because you won't see it, the children that are there now will suffer. And I'm very, very disturbed by what we're doing. Now, Reverend Overstreet, and I should say we should have no cuts in special ed, period, until we can figure it out. Reverend Overstreet discussed that he thought we needed a federal audit. I don't think we need a federal audit, but I do know that last night we discussed that there is a forensic audit being done by the state, and I think that that's enough, and that we should just, get some reports on what's happening with that, and I think that should make the public feel comfortable with what's going on in the district. But things that get done by the state take very long. That started last year, maybe even the year before. I don't know how long these audits have to take, but we should try to find out what's happening with that so that we can assure the public that everything's being done correctly. Let me see. I wanted to thank, we've criticized candidates before for not coming back. They go out, they try to get elected. Some of us get elected, some of us don't. But I do want to say that I think one of the differences this year is that so much attention was placed on the value of inclusiveness of the public and us. Wanted to thank Jason Berg, Amanda Khan, Vidya Gondadin, and Mr. Youssef for not only coming tonight, but for coming to the last meeting. And I hope that all of the good things that you brought up during the election we'll be able to use, and that you'll continue to stay with us. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mack.